everyone and welcome back. So today we're going to be doing some more Chronophoto. Had a couple of you requesting it in the community tab and actually on the last video as well. It didn't get a massive amount of views, not everybody's into it, but I really like it because it's actually one of those few games online that I seem to be alright at. Now I've said that, watch me muck this up now, but so far my ability in history and things like that seems to be helpful for this. So let's get into it. And if there's any other games you want to see me play, let me know. As I say, Monday and Wednesday are going to be Geoguessr and Geoguessr Reacts. Friday's going to be a random game. Could be Chronophoto, could be Injustice, could be Minecraft for all I know. I don't know. We'll get to it. Anyway, let's get into the game. Okay, here we go. Chronophoto. I know, by the way, that my hair isn't done today. I'm being lazy, all right? But let's get into the game and see how we can get on today. Now, I did all right when I was reacting and playing along with Geoguessr. I did pretty good when I was playing with just me playing it a week or two ago as well. So let's see if I can continue it. Okay, so the moustaches make it seem very much First World War to me, or at least that time period, especially because of the age, because these two look like children. And there would have been laws that came in after it, so it's got to put it down here. Also, because it's black and white, I'm going to think. Are we leading up to the war? So the war, obviously, 1914. Is it the lead up? I'm going to say 1910. Let's have a look. Oh! Oh, yes! And it continues. Hell yes. Okay. Okay. That was not expected. I am loving this goddamn game so far. If anyone doesn't know as well, I have a few different channels. I did mention some of them before. But if you go to Up for Education, so Up the number 4 Education, it's like a facts channel basically that I run. And I have quite a lot of history stuff on there. And clearly me looking at history all the time is helping. So let's keep going. Oh, okay. So this looks... Oh, okay. I was going to say 70s, but then actually this right here, that looks 90s. That hairstyle looks 90s as well. No, this looks 90s now. It did look 70s, just this kind of vibe. Is this San Francisco or something? Or am I completely the wrong place? I think it's got to be 90s. I think the car and this and just what they're dressing has to be 90s. Or it could be 80s. Actually, no, the car makes it 90s, I think. Well, the car looks even more modern. I'm going to say 94. I think 94. Okay, let's go with that. Oh, it was 97. Okay, I wasn't far off, but 97. Yeah, the if you took away the clothes and the car, that looked very 70s. The vibe was very 70s, but the clothes were just they screamed 90s. And the car was one that you could kind of see around today, which means it had to have been 20, 30 years ago, because anything before that, just the cars aren't running now. Okay, this immediately to me screams 80s. That hairstyle specifically, and his actually, very 80s. Although I'm quite aware that my kind of floppy hair at the moment is not too dissimilar. Well, this is the US, obviously, because it's Budweiser. Aspirin. Okay. That hair. Is it America or is it the UK? So this looks like Rick Astley. That's the Rick Astley haircut. I'm trying to remember when Rick Astley had his, never gonna give you up. I won't do the whole thing. But that was the 80s as well, wasn't it? So was it the early 80s, late 80s? I'm going to say 83. Because it also looks around the same time that Short Circuit came out. Just that vibe. I'm going to say 83. This would put it just before films like Back to the Future and things. 85! Oh my god! So that's painful because I mentioned the film Back to the Future. Guess which year Back to the Future came out? 1985, and then they travel back to 1955. God damn it. Right, okay. Oh, okay, okay. So this is older. I don't know where we are, though. But this, so those glasses, are very round, although that kind of style's come back in, is somewhat... I see the clothing? That seems very turn of the century, but the clothing seems a little bit later. She's showing her arms off far more, which isn't necessarily something you'd think back in this bit, which suggests potentially it's after the First World War. Because before the First World War, her having her arms out there just would not seem right. And also, if it's further back there, you'd have far more different things. So I think this is probably in the 20s. Now, also the reason for the 20s, a lot of the men do not have moustaches. Now, I know that sounds really weird, but them not having moustaches is in the time period a bit strange, because they would have been the partially part of the kind of the bright young things, not movement, but ideal, which looked to kind of shake things up, and that ideal of masculinity and stuff definitely changed, which again puts it in the 20s. So I'm going to say 24, 26. Let's say 24. Oh, it was later. 1931. It was later. It was just coming out of the 20s, just coming out of that time period. Okay, fair enough. Oh, okay, this 70s or 80s, pretty much just going on him and all those haircuts. This has got to be 70s or 80s. Oh, that car is 60s, but the rest of them seem 70s. So 60s, it was far more compact and kind of rounded. When we came out of that time period, it became a little bit sleeker, a little bit longer, as we have there. So this definitely, I think, 70s. Flares, again here, definitely something from the 70s, especially in the UK, and pretty sure this is the UK. The roofs suggest it's UK as well. When in the 70s is the question. So I'm going to say 73. I'm going to go with that. I think it's relatively early 70s is the flares. Yeah, I think before... This is still in the time... I think we're going to say it's still in the time of Elvis. Elvis obviously died in 77. Or is it just after? Actually... 76. Oh, baby! Last minute changer. Last minute changer. It was just... I was just starting to think that they looked a little bit like they wouldn't necessarily be the rock and roll crowd, and the rock and roll crowd started to die down as Elvis came to the end of his life in 77. So, oh, that is 2 top markers, and it was the last one. 4,139. I don't know if that's as good as last time. I know I got into 4,000s last time, but hell yes. Okay, that's one down. We've got to give it another go. Let's see if I can keep this going. Oh, it's the results. Okay, so it's, yeah, in the green, pretty much everything except for this. This one threw me off. I don't know the country this is in, because it's not the US, it's not the UK. I think this is South America, potentially. Yeah, everything else in the green. Okay, new game. Now, this, I think, almost definitely has to be before the First World War. So, during the First World War and that time period, as we started to get the planes into the war and around that time, they weren't even really being used for warfare, really. It was more reconnaissance. And in fact, they were suggested a lot of the time as being the kind of the most gentlemanly part of the armed forces, because of the fact that they would just say hello to each other, because there was no real guns or rockets or things like this. This does look an older plane as well. So I'm going to say we're looking at, I don't even think we're in the 19... I'll say 1909. Oh, it's 1913. I said just before the war. War obviously started in 1914. I should have gone a little bit closer to the war. Okay. Oh, okay. This looks like, is this Vietnam, Korea, which would put it into likely the 50s and 60s. Okay. Well, the early 60s is when JFK was assassinated. Then we went into LBJ. Then Nixon, who, you know, theoretically ended the war, kind of, or he suggested that he'd won it, but not really. But I think we've got to be in the 60s. So are we in the LBJ era? I'm going to say we're in the LBJ era, which is when it was at its kind of height or the worst. So 66? Oh, yes. Come on. I know I'm getting overly excited about these pictures, but god damn it. If anyone is around here from like the early days of this channel, or just since I've been doing a lot of Geoguessr, you'll know there's a reason for the name of this channel, Up for Bad Gaming. I don't know what the hell I'm doing half the time. Apparently I do with this. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, okay. So we are in Southeast Asia, so I think we're in the 50s. I think this is the 50s. Just that style of car, the truck. Their attire suggests maybe the mid to late 50s, because they look as if they would be comfortable in the 60s, but I don't think we're quite there yet. I'm going to say 55. Let's go 55. I was wrong. We were in the 60s. I said that their dress suggested the 60s, but basically the cars didn't. The cars looked like 50s. That's why I zoomed into that. But, of course, a lot of the car manufacturing was in the West. That looked like it was in the East, and it was an older thing. So, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. This is 90s. It's got to be. This screams 90s. This really screams 90s. That jacket, their clothing, everything about this screams 90s. Yeah, it's got to be, surely, right? Also, the quality of the photo. And that might sound strange to some people. The photo seems like 90s. Like it's... Pictures from the 90s look like, kind of like they're from now, but just something off. Like, you know, like seeing a picture and thinking, oh, this looks interesting. Oh, this is when my parents met. Like the 90s. I don't know. It seems like this. I could be very wrong. Also, the bike. It could be the 80s. No, you know what? I'm going to say 92. I'm going to say 92. Let's go with 92. Oh my god! Oh my god! You're telling me that picture? That picture is 2006. This picture is 2006. This is 2000. Someone was living in the 90s. I'm sorry. Okay, fine. You know what? I talked a lot of stuff and it was wrong. Okay. Well, this feels like it was early days. Okay, so I mean, the early 20th century still had cars. It just kind of is. Question is, when are we looking at? So, Central Brewing Company, East River. When are we looking though? The caps, the things like this, it just suggests anything in the 1910s or the 1920s. But I'm not 1,000,000%. So, I want to go 1921. I want to say it's not long after the First World War. Oh my god. I've lost the touch, guys. I've lost the touch. I've lost the touch. It is not staying with me. I've lost the touch. Okay, so we did not continue well. I did very well in the first one, over 4,000. Then straight in 708. Then 1,000. We got the top marks there, and then it all started to go downhill from there. Clearly, I need to scrub up on certain areas. Car manufacturing there. Cars, you know what? It is the cars that let me down there on 2 of them. The planes, knowing that's likely Vietnam, that kind of stuff helped. The quality of this picture really let me down. I think the quality of the picture feels like it's very 90s, and the clothing feels so 90s. But hey-ho, did one the first one. If there's anything else you'd like me to play, or if you'd like me to play more of this, let me know. And hey, I hope you've enjoyed. I'll see you next time.